Hello everyone, this is an introduction to a machine that I bought off somebody in a second-hand shop in Shepton Mallet where I live. This is a Columbia Viva Tonal Graphone number 109 from 1929, and the motor had been re-greased. Well, they greased everything including the plates have grease on them, so it's going to need the motor stripped down and degreased and re-greased properly. The soundbox gaskets have gone hard. I didn't have any gasket material, but I had some thick, quite spongy sleeving, electrical sleeving. I used that, and it certainly improved the soundbox, which is this piece. So that seems to be working. So what I'm going to do is give it a demonstration. I've wound it up. The other thing that was wrong is this governor control. The screw had come loose and it was just spinning around on its shaft, and it was in the wrong position. So it wasn't running at 78. It runs at about 100 maximum and it goes down to about 46. And most early 78s were 80. They then standardised it as 78. So there's plenty in there. I've wound it up. The brake is a leather pad. It's a little bit skiddy, but perhaps it could do with a new piece of leather. That's probably gone a bit hard. So what you have to do is to blunt the needle by putting it onto the outside. Now the reason I say that is if you put the needle directly into the groove, that's what wears them. You have to sort of do that first. So this record's a bit distorted, but on the Isle of Capri that I found her, beneath the shade of an old walnut tree. Oh, I can still see the flowers blooming round her, where we met on the Isle of Capri. She was as sweet as a rose at the dawning, but somehow fate hadn't meant her for me. And though I sailed with the tide in the morning, still my heart's on the Isle of Capri. Summertime was nearly over. As you can see, it's got quite a good sound on it. It hasn't got a folded horn, it's just got a direct. Can you spare a sweet word of love? She whispered softly, it's best not to linger. And then as I kissed her hand, I could see she wore a plain golden ring on her finger. 'Twas goodbye on the Isle of Capri. Somewhere far away, over Naples Bay, that is where my thoughts keep on turning. Down by the sea, where romance came to me. Picturing the scene and what might have been, but it's all in vain that I'm yearning. Fate changed it all, and I'm left to recall. Oh, it's slowing down. Yeah, what it is, I forgot to wind it up, didn't I? I had a feeling that was going to happen. That sometimes happens. I can get two sides of a 10-inch on this, and with some to spare, but I had to wind it full. And it's not a good idea to leave the machine in storage fully wound. And what had happened is I played one record and a bit more, and then that's why it started to slow down. I'm not sure whether I can just wind it up a bit more. The spring, the handle pulls out of the back. Yeah, it's gone completely flat. Yeah, I'm going to have a problem winding this. Yeah, it's sort of difficult to wind because the handle's up against the top of the stove where the cloth is. I'll just play a little bit more, and the spring's quite strong because it picks up speed without taking the sound box off. So if you like the Ilika Pre, this is it. The accordion is not my favourite instrument, but I would imagine this record's sort of mid-1930s. Anyway, I've had enough of that one. That just lifts off and places in there. You stop the wheel with your fingers. See, the brake does work, but it doesn't grip very well. It's leather against metal, and it hasn't got much of a surface area. And you do that, and it moves quite easy, even though I tighten the brake onto it. So it's not very good at stopping it when it's fully wound. You've got a needle cap, the hinges. Now I'm going to get a set of metal corners for it. I'll show you the condition of the case. The case isn't bad, there's a few marks on it and it's a bit white. So I'm going to put leather restore, and I'm going to buy some metal corners to do these corners a bit threadbare, but it isn't too bad. The case is quite good on here. There's a few marks on the top, but there's no tears in it. And once I put metal corners on here, there's no wear in the case. I just re-black it, put some chrome, some nickel ones. You can buy those nickel ones now on eBay. I think they're about £6-7 for 8. So I'll do those. What I'm planning on doing is going down a couple of local dementia homes. Now apparently the reason why I was going to do that is I saw a program. It was on a dementia care hospital in America, and there was a guy, an elderly man, his head was down and they called him barely alive, and they put these headphones on, his head went up and he started talking away, and the staff were quite touched because he'd never shown any response to anybody, and started singing away and chatting about his life as a musician, and apparently he'd not done that before. And the effect of him listening to those headphones that were put on his head lasted about 3 or 4 days every time it was done. So every couple of days they put this on and this guy starts tapping his feet and whistling, and take the headphones off, he starts singing. And so apparently they're now using this in homes in America, and they started some music clubs for dementia patients here. And so you would say, why dementia? Well, I lost quite a number of my older friends through it. My dad died from it, so I just feel if I can be of some help to people that have gone through what my dad went through, then I think it's something that's worth doing. Anyway, this is the Columbia 109. The one I'd really like is the 112. That's got folded horn. I'm going to try and get 2 of these, one to use at home and one to take out. I've got that cabinet ground in here, which I've redone. I've redone a cabinet ground that I've got, which is this one. But it's a bit heavy, and it's just really okay, but it only plays one side of a 10-inch and a bit. Well, actually it plays one 12-inch. So you can't play even a 10-inch both sides without having to put a few turns in the winder. It's actually quite nice. It's quite a nice machine. It was in very poor condition when I had it. It was the lid had come off, the glue had gone in. The case had opened up. It was a real mess. I think it had been kept somewhere damp. So really it was filler. Putting new pins in where the pins were, and wood glue was all I could do with it. So I tarted it up, but it's never going to be excellent. But it's a cabinet ground. They were quite expensive. So I'm thinking of selling that one, or trading it if somebody wants one of those for a folded horn portable like a C112. The Columbia ones apparently don't go for that much money. Why, I don't know, because HMV and Columbia did amalgamate, and HMV were making a lot of the Columbia machines anyway. And they're just as good, it's just they're not as collectible. But that's a good thing, because they very often get overlooked. And to be honest with you, they're perfectly good machines. And you can get a machine like for a HMV they want £200 for, £250 for a good used one of these. Whereas you can buy one of these for about 100, 125. I paid 100 for this one. And this one's in fairly good condition. It just needs a bit tidying up. So I say get the Columbias while you can. And some of the other makes. Don't be afraid of those. I would say get a Columbia and a Decca. And leave the HMV ones to people who are really just going to collect them and not use them. I call them serious collectors. They just play them once in a blue moon, but they're not going to use them. Something I call this is sort of a working class model. It was most people would have had one of these Columbias because they were cheaper and they were good. I mean, most things that were built many years ago were actually fairly well made. It's not like the stuff today. If you get the cheap stuff today, it really is rubbish. Whereas if you got the cheaper things perhaps 70, 80 years ago, it was still good. Because they used basically the same components, but they just put a different badge on it and called it a different name. And this one's got a reasonably quiet motor on it. The handle needs replacing. Someone's put an aftermarket handle on, which isn't very good, so that's got to be replaced. So new corners and new handle. I want to put a stronger handle on there. And then when I go up the homes, this will go into my pull-along case because it's with wheels. It's too heavy for me with my shoulder and my back to carry that. I would say nearly a mile each way, 3/4 of a mile each way. I'm not going to be able to do that. So my little green case, this will fit in it with a bit of bubble wrap around it. Anyway, this is my little demonstration to the Columbia Viva Grafanola 1929-109, and I hope you enjoyed the little bit of a rendition and a bit of a slowdown as well. Thank you very much. Merci buckets.